of the InterCare residents. Now that the dollars that we're talking about for faculty, those are not necessarily Eisenhower faculty. Those are faculty that are InterCare faculty that are teaching the residents. These faculty members will be within their continuity clinic, as well as additional outpatient rotations. Also, I know there was a discussion about receiving 1 year's worth of funding versus 3 years worth of funding. As an expert in this field, I highly don't encourage this. InterCare is in the process of attempting to hire a program director. This is an industry-wide search. There isn't anyone local that meets the requirements that has an interest in being a program director. With only a 1-year commitment, you will reduce the pool of good candidates, solid candidates, candidates that would be innovative to this program. And that would severely limit the faculty involvement in the program as well. It sends a message that the district doesn't support the full 3 years of this program, and could really jeopardize the ability to build a strong, innovative program by not allowing for the full 3-year commitment from the district. And I will leave it at that. If there's any questions about the CMS funding, I'm happy to answer.
No, Carmela, and this is Jeff again. I completely understand and agree that InterCare is prohibited by law from providing financial assistance to Eisenhower. Okay,
correct.
That I don't disagree with that at all. This has to do with the nuance of the idea of these residents. Okay, and we just want to make sure we understand the legal relationship between these residents in year 2 and in year 3, and to make sure and just confirm that there's not an issue there. I'm fairly confident that there won't be, but I don't want to commit, from my perspective, I don't want the district to necessarily commit. There has to be a contingency, which I think that's what we're discussing, which is, in order to get this program up and running, you've got to have everybody in order. I thought there was somebody you were looking for, one of the directors or coordinators or somebody you still needed to hire.
Yes, the program director, sir.
Okay, so I think that's what I mischaracterized the person, but that's still a condition of the qualification, even though you've obviously got your accreditation. So all I'm saying is that we just need to make some contingencies in here so that we can be clear that it isn't that you're directly sending money to them, but we have to put this up against this covenant that we've got, just to make sure that we're on the same page and that it's clean. And I'm not I'm not disagreeing with your representations, and I understand where you're coming from, but these are kind of it's important nuances that we have to be diligent from a legal standpoint anytime this we have grants that potentially could be a financial benefit to under the terms of the 27 lease to Eisenhower, and we're in the middle of litigation over that right now, and so we need to be. I'm just saying we need to be prudent and careful. It doesn't have anything to do with trying to not grant the full amount or not supporting this program. It's really I'll take responsibility. It's my nuance that I think we need to be careful and prudent, and so that's why I think we have to condition the second and third year in particular on fulfilling that, and to the extent that you need to get a director on board before the first year. That's my question: is where were you at on on that, recruitment of that individual.
So they've gone through, they've started a national search. And Jeff, so and I think we can come to some understanding, and I think I've got a solution that will make everybody happy. But I want to ask you a couple of questions. So the residents that we're talking about in this program are residents of Intercare. We don't say residents are employed by, because that violates ACGME, but they receive stipends from Intercare. So they are Intercare's residents. They don't belong to anyone else, I guess. And I hate saying people belong to
Well,
a
no,
company,
no,
but
and
you know what I'm saying?
yeah, no, and that's a good thing. Okay, I mean that's a good thing. That helps. That
Right.
helps because I noticed that
But what if we
there
were
was
to do
reference to
this?
DAP, and it's just, it's really
Yeah.
as much understanding, that everybody, how what who benefits and such. So I mean that's all I'm trying to look at.
It is one. But one of the things that I'm wondering if it would solve the problem, because we can add a forgive me, I don't know the legal word for, but we can add a statement into the MOU that says all between Eisenhower and Intercare's agreement that states that there will be no funding that will go to Eisenhower, and we can just include that in the agreement when the agreement is ready to be signed.
Yeah, and I think, okay, so number one, this is going to be a grant agreement. It's really not an MOU. Okay, and
Okay.
I'll refer to staff, but that's the form of the agreement. And number
Okay.
two, I would like to help you in that contingency in the language that would be in there, that qualification, so that we can make sure we're tracking properly the covenant not to compete. And I'm happy to work with you to try to help come up with that language.
That would be awesome. I would really
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah,
And we could also, I mean, I always start with a template, and then we go from there in adding the specific nuances. And I think having your support in crafting that language would be awesome. It basically it covers everyone's hide, and that's what we all want to do. We don't.
yeah. No, sure. We're trying. We're trying to support this. The other question is that, and Donna or Chris, you can explain. I mean, we were looking at this in the traditional. This is a grant. Okay, so we were going to use the format of our grant agreement, which has provisions in there for oversight to make sure the money's going where it's going and all that kind of stuff, that we
Mhm.
can kind of track what's going on. It's just our basic grant, but we can also modify that for to address these kinds of issues. Okay,
Mhm.
so we already have a form. We just need to come to agreement on the language
Right.
for this issue. So I mean, I think this gives us an opportunity to work on that.
Yeah, and I think as part of what we're looking at here with the non-compete agreement with the lease is that we have to look at if there's any direct or indirect benefit with Eisenhower. It doesn't mean that these monies would be going to Eisenhower or that there would be monies coming from Eisenhower to Intercare, but we have to look at if there's even indirect benefit or reducing expenses of Eisenhower in this process. And I think that's what's critical about legal counsel being able to review these affiliation agreements so that we can understand that. And I wouldn't think that that would be an issue for us to be able to review those when they're ready. And we recognize that they're not ready yet and cannot be provided. And so that's why we're suggesting either the potential 1 year to get them going, or we can craft some contingency language as then another option that is presented to the committee next month when this process is completed, and then require them that those completed affiliation agreements are allowed then to be reviewed by legal counsel.
Yeah, and
But
I mean,
that's always the case.
well, but we want to make sure, Carmela, that we're tracking.
Right.
I don't have that language in front of me right now. And
Sure.
it's a fairly complicated covenant, but
Yeah.
it has a lot of exceptions and things like that. And certainly, underlying it all is that, the district is still, is encouraged to provide community benefits and things like that, notwithstanding
Right.
that. So we just need
But
to
that
we need to
process,
work on that a little bit.
yeah, and Jeff, just so that you know, across GME, I've never worked with an institution where those affiliation agreements weren't reviewed by legal counsel
Of course, of course.
at one point. But I don't see that a a process that is normally followed should be cause to not support a program for 3 years. I have greater concern that the district wouldn't support the program for 3 years and the impact of that on recruiting a program director, which is critical for the success, as well as faculty. And then in addition to that, beginning to recruit residents. If residents aren't seeing that the district is fully supported of the program, it's kind of hard for them to commit 3 years of their life to it.
Yeah.
So I think following a process that legal counsel always reviews a contract agreement with another institution shouldn't be a reason to hold back funding for a program that everybody seems to agree is needed.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that at all. I'm just saying that
Okay.
we need to make sure we build it into the agreement
Correct.
so that we're all clear that the district's in a position, the committee and ultimately the board is in a position to make an informed decision and
Yeah.
understands what the risks are. So I don't disagree with anything you said.
Okay.
Okay,
I
so
look
I'm
forward to
closing
working with
comment.
you on that, Jeff.
I'm closing comment now. We're gonna make a motion. And then obviously it seems like this needs to be brought back to another time, but,
So
Greg?
I'll make the motion. So I would direct staff to continue the due diligence and bring back to the July program committee an option for the complete 3-year funding with contingencies or language built into years 2 and 3 to address the legal concerns around the covenant agreement.
Thank you.
I second.
I reiterate too, going back to it's so difficult to develop a really comprehensive program like this if you don't have that certainty. The recruiting example was a great example. So, but I think we can, and just nodding his head, and I don't want to we've discussed this ad nauseum, but I think we can get the legal language in there that will protect us and the fiduciary.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, Andrea, can I have a roll call, please?
For Secretary Barraza.
Yeah.
Vice President Rodriguez.
Yes.
And President Perezquio.
Yes. Okay. Wait for that update on the July 12th meeting, July 12th. We'll move on to memorandum of understanding between the district and foundation, operational support funding for $750,000. Is there a motion to approve?
So
Second. Okay, roll call, Andrea?
Secretary Barraza.
Yes.
Vice President Rodriguez.
yes.
And President Perezquio.
Yes. Okay, so we'll move on to committee member comments. Are there any committee member comments at this time? Okay, I'll adjourn the meeting at 12:44. Our next scheduled meeting will be on July 10th, 2025. Move directly into the foundation meeting.
Oh, you can call it.
Now call the foundation meeting to order at 12:44 p.m. Or did it just turn 12:45 p.m.? I'm sorry. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as is?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Move on to meeting minutes from the April 10th, 2025 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the April 10th meeting?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Move on to public comments. At this time, comments from the audience may be made on items not listed on the agenda that are of public interest and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the district. The committee has a policy of limiting speakers to not more than 3 minutes. The committee cannot take action on items not listed on the agenda. Public input may be offered on an agenda item when it comes up for discussion and/or action. Are there any public comments at this time?
There are no public comments.
Are there any comments from the? Okay, we'll move on to chief executive report. Is there a chief executive report at this point?
I do not have additional items other than the agendized items.
We'll move on to old business, DPMG, Health Mobile Medical Clinic Operations with Alejandro Espinosa.
Just one thing noteworthy for this month's report is we hosted our fourth women's wellness clinic in partnership with the Pink Journey Foundation and DPMG Health to provide mammograms and pap smears at this event. So we were able to provide 38 mammograms and 29 pap smears. Really successful event. That was the Saturday of the bombing. So it was nice to be out there doing something good. But we still have 3 more events to come in the fall. We have one scheduled in September, one in October, and one in November. So we'll continue to provide updates to the program committee and the board of some of those activities.
Are there any questions or comments for Alejandro?
Great work.
Yeah, thank you for the great work. And I'm glad to see that there's so many people in the community that are being helped with that.
Yeah, and one thing, if I may add, working with Megan, we developed a couple of abstracts that we submitted for conferences. So we have a couple of updates for the Mobile Healthcare Association. We were accepted to provide, to be part of a panel, a 60-minute panel with other providers. And then we are also accepted for the poster presentation at the Mobile Healthcare Association. So we have those 2 activities. And last week we received approval that from the American Public Health Association that we will be able to present a poster. So our poster abstract was accepted. So we will be traveling to APHA and providing the poster presentation as part of our work.
Congratulations on all those achievements, and we look forward to seeing what comes ahead.
And we've submitted to ACHD for consideration at the upcoming annual meeting.
Gonna
in
ask that.
September.
Good.
Thank you.
Great work.
Yeah, thank you.
Then we'll move on to number 2, improving access to healthcare in Desert Highland Gateway Estates. The April 2025 report with DAP Health and Borrego Health Foundation. I believe the information is in the packet. Is there any questions regarding? I don't have any questions. I just have one question. We're almost at the end of this grant, right? How many more months do we have?
We're approaching the end. I don't know the exact end.
Okay, well, we'll wait to hear from that. Thank you. We'll move on to new business, the strategic plan funding. We'll move to number 1, find food bank vendor service agreement and contract for $500,000 for delivery of fresh produce in partnership with the Mobile Medical Unit Initiative. Are there any questions regarding this grant?
I'll move approval.
A second.
What
Oh, sorry.
I'd like to communicate is that this vendor agreement was discussed as a concept at last month's board meeting.
Right.
And so we did put together a vendor agreement based on that. We did present to F&A committee earlier this week. And there were also some recommendations that also came from Debbie Espinosa, the president and CEO at Fine Food Bank, for some modifications to the language from what's in our packet today. So I did provide those to you.
And that was in the email this morning too.
Correct, yeah. Sent the email this morning and also hard copies. But that's what we would like to then move forward to the board for approval.
Are your motions still the same?
Absolutely.
Okay, yes. Can I get a roll call, Andrea?
Secretary Barraza,
Yes.
Vice President Rodriguez.
Yes.
And President Carrasco.
Yes. Move on to number 2, memorandum of understanding between the district and foundation operational support funding for $750,000. Can I get a motion to approve the receiving of the MOU?
Second.
Roll call, Andrea?
Secretary Barraza,
Yes.
Vice President Rodriguez.
Yes.
And President Carrasco.
Yes. Program, we'll move on to program updates. Number 1, progress and financial reports subject. Updates. At this moment, there are no progress or financial report updates at this time. Are there any committee member comments at this time? Thank you. Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting at 12:51. Our next scheduled meeting will be July 10th. Thank you all and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you.